Welcome everyone to EAL Coding for Canadian-born students, the how and when. We'll start off by introducing the EAL consultant team. We have Dina Alexander, Kimberly Goosen, Rebecca Hartwick, Aurelia Minatoli Aiello, myself, Carrie Toussaint, and Stacy Itterman will be joining us when her maternity leave has been completed. Gathering here today, we are learning and growing in our knowledge of supporting students' diverse learning needs. Our work is grounded in the TQS. Specifically, we are called to understand student backgrounds, prior knowledge, and experiences. We want to make sure that when we code a student as a Canadian-born English as an additional language learner, we are building a full picture of the student. And so we thought we would start off with some updated terminology. You are going to see EAL out there, and this is English as an additional language. And when we refer to EAL, we are referring to the programming. You will also continue to see ESL out there, English as a second language. This is the course code, and we normally see this in high school classes. ELL continues to be the English language learner. So when we talk about students, that is the ELL, the English language learner, and also ELD, English language development. And this is a locally developed course that students in grade 4 to 6 or 7 to 9 may be part of. Now, taking a look at this map, you are able to see the large amount of countries who speak a variety of English dialects. English speakers from different countries and regions use a variety of different English dialects. Dialects are linguistic varieties that may differ in pronunciation, accents, vocabulary, spelling, grammar, slang. Even within Canada, there are a variety of dialects of English, and some of those varieties in Canada include Ottawa Valley English, Inland Canadian English, and Newfoundland English. A student that uses an English dialect from any country speaks English, but may have cultural adjustment needs. These students that are speaking a variety of English dialects do not need to be coded 303, as English is their primary language. So why code a student 303? A code 303 student is an English language learner who was born within Canada. A student will be coded 303 because the student has English language needs. So not because the parents or siblings are foreign born. As we saw in the slide previous, an accent is not necessarily an indicator of language proficiency. Parents may have limited English and may be English language learners themselves, but this again is not necessarily an indicator of a student's language proficiency. If a student speaks an additional language at home 100% of the time, this does not necessarily mean that the student will have English language needs. And lastly, schools do not code a student EAL just because the student's sibling is coded ELL. There are a variety of reasons why a sibling may be coded EAL and another sibling may not. One being the family may have settled and lived in Canada for a longer period of time, or the student has just different experiences with the English language. A big thank you to all members of the DLT teams, kindergarten and grade 1 teachers. Last year, kindergarten teachers identified possible candidates for 303 coding, collecting authentic and meaningful anecdotal evidence that was passed on to the EAL consultants, DLT teams, and grade 1 teachers. EAL consultants reviewed the evidence and reached out to schools last week to confirm the students that met the criteria for coding. For new possible 303 candidates in kindergarten, we are asking when coding a student 303, if the student is in kindergarten, please only put forth students who have very limited or no English language skills in the area of listening and speaking. This gives students a year of experience and practice with listening and speaking skills throughout their kindergarten year before coding in grade 1. The EAL team, in collaboration with the early learning team, will reach out later in the year to review the collection of evidence for these candidates, the same as last year. For students who may be coded a level 3 to 5, kindergarten teachers, please identify and observe possible students who may be coded 303 in grade 1. Ideally, during kindergarten, evidence can be collected to support coding in grade 1. Now, some kindergarten students will already be coded 303 because of EAL preschool. And if you want to have a look at those documents, they should be in preschools. Their updated level can be found in PASSE. So PASSE documents ESL, which is now EAL assessment. For students that were not identified in kindergarten and are in grade 1, as well as students in grade 2 to 12, please contact your EAL consultant if you are querying coding a student 303 as necessary throughout the year. We will discuss the requirements needed to qualify for coding and also chat about evidence that can be collected to support the EAL initial level. Students can be coded 303 throughout the year. Again, please start the process by contacting your EAL consultant if you are querying adding students as necessary throughout the year. And as a reminder, grade 1 and the beginning of grade 2 students will only be assessed on the benchmarks for listening and speaking when formulating an overall EAL level. Now, there are circumstances when a student may be coded 303 in grades other than grade 1. And some of those circumstances that may arise could include that the student was born in Canada, has left Canada to return to a home country of family, and now has come back. Or the student is Francophone. Again, if a student is in a higher grade, please consider if this student has language needs or is a student who is struggling academically. If the latter is true, this is a great time to put the student forward to your school resource team to investigate these other factors. And so, what is the process of coding a student 303? This process begins by identifying students who are displaying English language acquisition needs, was born in Canada, and English is not their primary language. English would be their additional language. You would then contact your EAL consultant who will guide you through this process. We will begin by discussing if this student even meets the requirements for funding. We will discuss gathering appropriate work samples, which will be shared with your EAL consultant. Together, we will discuss the students' levels in each of the appropriate language strands for their grade and determine an overall EAL working level. Teachers will then meet with parents and guardians, explaining the benchmarks, evidence, and supports provided. You will want to inform parents if their child will be receiving no mark in core subjects, and this would be for students who are level 1 or 2. You will then add an EAL placement form to the student's ed form. And this can be done by clicking on the white plus sign within a blue circle image located in the bottom right-hand corner on an ed form. Then add a plan and click on EAL placement. A benchmark will then need to be created within the student's ed form. Document in consultations and reviews the discussion with parents regarding coding, and then notify all members of the student's learning team of the new coding. A registration form does not need to be filled out and signed by the parents and guardians, and this is new for this year. We also want to investigate if there are other factors that could be influencing how students are showcasing their language skills. Are there other factors affecting language acquisition? Has the child's vision been checked into? Are there any medical needs? For instance, speech? Has the student just arrived? Have they had time to adjust to their new learning community? Are there additional learning codes? Has the student been discussed within your school resource team? Are there language concerns, meaning concerns can be identified within the benchmark outcomes, or are concerns more academic related? Has there been a conversation with parents and guardians to gather background information about the student? So we really want to build a full picture of this student as we're considering the coding of 303. When your EAL consultant comes out to your school in the next month or so to review the ELLs on your PowerSchool list, we will identify grade 9 students who are coded 303, meaning again that they are a Canadian-born English language learner. These students typically have been educated for their entire academic career in English and are still being benchmarked. This is a good time to query if this student has English language needs or are their needs more academic in nature. As an example, if a grade 9 student has been in Canada since grade 1 and is still working towards achieving level 2 outcomes on the benchmarks, and are still receiving a no mark on their progress report, it is time to investigate other factors. You can just imagine how this can impact this student and their outlook on learning, who they are as a learner, and who they are as an individual. In grade 9, lack of benchmark progress will affect the courses they're able to register for in high school and their high school trajectory rate, so their graduation rate. Querying a student's lack of progress gives us a better understanding of the student's learning profile and the needs that they have. Fully understanding a student's profile can impact their motivation to engage in their learning or in their peer groups or opportunities to connect to their community, and can affect relationships also at home. Most importantly, how a student views themselves as a learner will impact their sense of identity. It's so important that we have an awareness of our EAL students' needs, monitor their growth, plan for those transitions, and program to meet their learning needs. We also wanted to highlight some upcoming PG, and you can register on the professional growth platform. So on September 13th, there will be an EAL placement card and next steps PG. On September 18th, from 4 to 5, there will be an ELD collaborative session at St. Brother Andre Center. September 23rd, there is communicating with parents and guardians of EAL students. The EAL placement card and the communicating with parents and guardians of EAL students, both will be virtual and both will be recorded and placed on EPD in our professional growth recorded sessions area that you can see, and they also will be sent out to DLCTs after they have finished. Thank you so much for all that you're doing to support the students and staff at your school. It's a very busy time of year, and we appreciate all the work and organization that goes into getting this all done. Again, if you have questions or comments, please reach out to your EAL consultant regarding 303 coding. Take care.